Hello and welcome to another episode of French Ear Trumpet. I'm Andy from AJ in France, and we are joined today with Colin, as usual, from French Countryside Life, but also with Hugh from Wouldn't It Be Nice? Now, just a bit of background. Hugh is an avid follower of all our channels, and we are of his as also. So we'll get more into that later on, but he left a comment and messaged us saying, can we come on for a chat? Can I come on for a chat? And we said, well, yeah, of course, anybody can. So it's open to anybody at all. If you want to come on and have a chat about anything, it doesn't even have to be French related. Anything you think you want to talk to us about, put a comment in and we'll get back to you. And the chances are you can come on. So before we get started, I wanted to do a shout out to a guy called Sean, and he's a big follower of this channel, my channel, and yours, Colin.
Yes,
And he's just bought a new house near, oh well, I won't say where it's near, but it's in Brittany. And yeah, very interesting. So best of luck to Sean.
that's them
And
three roads, isn't it? That's the only reason that you bought there because that's them three toll roads, isn't it? That's what it is.
yeah, well, there is that. Anyway, get back to it. Welcome, Hugh. Thanks for coming on.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
So, your channel is a channel that's dedicated to, how can I best describe this? Craftsmanship on a turning lathe for stuff in wood. Now,
Yeah.
hang on one second. For people watching, don't go away. It is super interesting. Super, super interesting. And I will get to that shortly. But tell me a bit about your channel and what you do on there.
Uh, I've been on YouTube for about 5 years now. Um, I trained as a um, design technology teacher back in the late 70s. After 2 years, I decided that I hated kids. So I
Wait, hold on.
left the
We've got something
course.
in common there. We definitely got something.
So I did end up teaching, but at a night school for 3 years. And I taught silversmithing, which is my specialist subject at college.
What? But okay, can you explain what silversmithing is?
Um, Silversmithing is not just using silver, but copper, gilding metal, things like that to make rings, bracelets, pendants, jewelry, basically.
Oh,
So
wow.
you solder them and polish them and make them look nice, but you can add gems to them. You can do what you want.
Because I suppose it's a huge skill to be able to join one metal to another metal. Because I know with things like stainless steel, it's difficult to join it, isn't it? And there's a whole profession involved in joining two bits of metal, isn't there?
Yeah. I mean, the stuff I use what we call non-ferrous metals.
Right.
So no iron content whatsoever. So it would be brass, copper, gilding metal. They were the three main mediums I used. And then the joy about those is that afterwards, if you think it's good enough, you can actually then get it silver plated or
All right.
gold plated or anything like that, so that it looks like a piece of silver or a piece of gold. But yeah, I did that at school for 3 years. It was great fun.
Hold
Loved
on,
it.
hold on. Let me just ask a question. So basically you, because I don't know anything about jewelry. You can't tell, but I don't know anything about jewelry. And so you make the base or the outline of whatever it is you're going to make in some kind of other metal that you've just described, and then over the top it's plated. So how does that work then? Let's say you've got a ring and it's marked so many carats and that sort of stuff. What does that relate to? Is that the plating that's on it? I don't really know anything about it.
Now, if it's marked, if it's hallmarked, then it's pure silver or pure gold or sterling silver. And gold has many different levels of purity. I did not work in those. I did work in silver, but not in gold because it's too expensive.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was basically a night school for people to come in, have a bit of fun, and make a bracelet for their daughter, their granddaughter, a ring for themselves, or whatever, and just 2 hours twice a week, and just have a bit of fun.
Do you know, that is really interesting because when I was in college and we were studying IT, they got some guy in to teach us for one day, and he was like you. He normally taught at night school a few hours a week and on information technology back as it was then. And when he started the class, because we were all, I guess, teenagers then in college, and the first thing he said was, "I'm used to teaching adults, not kids, so I'm not going to like this." I always remember that.
Yeah.
So when you just said then, I don't like kids, but that's what I went to do to teach adults, I can honestly believe it because I really enjoy teaching. Colin will back that up. But I don't mean teaching kids at school. I mean teaching people who really want to learn. Is that what you had in your
That's
mind?
yeah. I mean, my last teaching practice was in Slough, because my college was just outside Windsor, a little place called Egham,
I know it.
near Staines, and I had a fifth former ask me out for a fight. I thought, okay,
Yeah.
this
Oh,
is
Did you win,
not
Hugh?
good. So he backed down, Colin, because
of course he did.
I
Of course he did.
actually
So you
I
could probably
thought
win that one.
Well, he
I
turned up
was
with a
what
silver plated club, didn't he?
You know what I mean?
I was only what 18 and a half myself at the time.
Oh, blimey.
I was only about 3.5 years older than this kid. And I'd already decided by that time I wasn't coming back for my third year.
Mm.
So I turned around and went, yeah, okay, I'll see you
Superb.
after school. And we met on the staircase.
You actually, oh my God.
And he said, sir.
He's still
I said,
calling you sir
yes.
at this point.
I said, I'm ready. And he said, I'd like to say sorry, sir. I said, okay, I'll accept, but when you do it in front of the class, you
Oh,
challenge me in front of the class, you're going to apologize in front of the class, which he did at the next lesson.
oh my
I
God.
thought that was it. I'm done. But at night school, they were paying to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They wanted to learn and they wanted to do things.
Yeah, I agree. And the way I got my electrician's certification in the UK back in 2006, it was, I actually paid to go to night school. So your money's on the line and you're eager to learn because at the end of it, there's something that means something for you. And at that point, it was you could continue being an electrician or you couldn't, because up until then, you could be unqualified and still do electric. So you had to do that course to get certified. So everybody there was not only participating well, but helping everyone else out.
Mm.
It was a completely different thing because a few years before I just finished college, and the difference between the two was massive. So I understand what you're saying.
So, two things, Hugh. So, first thing that occurs to me. So, if you was a teacher in the 70s, did you have little suede patches on your elbows of your jacket? Because I think that was standard practice, wasn't it?
Do I have to answer that, Colin?
I don't think you have to really. I think we
Of
all
No.
have.
course I did.
Yeah. Uh, the second thing, tell us about where you grew up, where you was born, where you grew up, what your childhood was like, and how you found yourself being interested in manufacturing things and so on. So give us your give
I
us
was
your
born in what we call, or I call God's country.
Wait, well,
which is
hold on. That's Yorkshire.
no, it's Carmarthenshire. There's one in each part of the United Kingdom. So you've got one in Scotland somewhere, you've got one in England, and I must admit I love Yorkshire. And you've got one in Wales, which is called Carmarthenshire. But
Okay, well, go on. I'll give you that then. One each side. Yeah, I get it.
yeah, but you've got other people in Wales that will say, well, no, this county is God's country and all the rest of it. But anyway, no, I was born there in the late 50s. Excuse me. My father at the time was a colliery manager. So we lived in the colliery manager's house and
Right.
big houses and huge ceilings and lovely gardens. Um, but my father saw the decline of what was then called the National Coal Board, the NCB, and retrained as a teacher, a maths teacher. I mean, my father had a BSc in mining engineering. My mother had a honours degree in music as a teacher. So dad switching to teaching made sense. So at about the age of 5, I think it was, I started to learn English because at that point I couldn't speak English. I could only speak Welsh.
Well,
That's amazing.
Some
wow.
people say I still can't speak English.
What do you say?
Yeah.
Ah,
Very very
the
much.
old ones are the best.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I was monolingual until I was about 5.
Wow. Wow.
So I'm the one that had to be taught English,
So that would have been that would have
early
been
60s.
yeah, that would have been post-war, relatively post-war England, which was still in a bit of a state, and you would have been coming smack bang into the, winters of discontent and all the strikes and the stuff that were happening at that time. Did you see that around you when you was growing up?
No, no. I think my parents sort of tried to shield from that sort of thing. But then again, going back to the early 60s, we didn't have a television.
Right, of course, yeah,
So, it wasn't like you switch on and get 300
Mm.
channels on a box.
yeah.
We had the radio
It's
and
nothing on, is it?
those things called newspapers,
Mm,
that people used to deliver and you could read.
yeah.
So, yeah, my father, as I said, retrained as a teacher, a maths teacher, was a very, very good one. And at one point, the 5 of us, so that's my brother, my sister, and myself, I am the youngest, um, we're all in the same school, which was the largest comprehensive school in Wales at the time.
So did that mean that when your father left his job as the colliery manager, you had to move out of the house?
Dad was very clever because whilst he was still with the coal board and on, for those times, a good salary, um, they bought a house in Cardiff.
Right.
Clever.
Um, and I remember in 1964, it cost them £5,000.
Do you think that's because he saw the writing on the wall? So he bought that
Definitely, Colin.
or was it
Absolutely,
just an
definitely.
investment?
Yeah.
Wow, that's one smart guy.
Mm.
So yeah, he left the coal board. We had a house, um, and we all went to the same school. I had one of the best attendance records in school, having both parents teach there. So
Well,
it
you
was,
can't miss it, can you?
but it was great. I mean, I loved my school. And my father was always very hands-on. Um, he used to service our cars.
Mm.
He did all the work in the house. The only thing he wouldn't do, and wish I'd known you then, was electrical work.
It's not the same as it is now, that's for sure.
Because
Oh,
the house we bought was supposedly had been rewired, and there was a new fuse box in the cupboard in the downstairs pantry. And on further investigation, when we took the covering off. Brand new wires went from the fuse box to a junction box, and after that was all the old wiring.
Yep.
So the whole house had to be rewired.
So what kind of that would have been what the 50s,
Mid
60s?
60s,
Mid
64,
60s.
65.
So I'm going to tell you a quick story because we like going off on a tangent here. I went to do a job in Enfield in North London, and for this lady who, lovely lady, and she owned a shall we say, a resort in Mallorca. But she was old then. She was mid 80s then, and this is back in 2012, probably something like that. And but she had a massive house in Enfield, which she'd bought with her husband when it was built. Anyway, cut long story short, I'm fitting a new bathroom for her, and I'm with a guy who's my apprentice for the day. And in the corner of the airing cupboard, we're taking the airing cupboard out, is some old cloth wiring that does the lighting. And I don't know if you know that kind of, it's probably the same kind of stuff that you're talking about there. And I said, I'll just rip that out. It's not being used anymore. It's been replaced since then. Anyway, so
Like
the
graded.
apprentice gets his hammer in there, pulls it out, bang. So I said to the lady, when was the house rewired? She went, rewired? Oh, no. No, 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 no. Not since we had it built in 1960 something. And this is 2013, 2015, or where around there. So I said, well, we might have to do something about that. So we had to rewire the whole house because everything was
Must
like
have got a
the
bathroom in.
fabric wiring with the copper in the middle. And I guess is probably that's before the vulcanized rubber that used to perish. This is even before that. So it's like fabric. So I guess that's probably what the kind of era you're talking about, Hugh.
Almost looked like coax cable, like
Uh, yeah,
a woven covering over it.
that's the one.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
horrible stuff.
Yeah, that.
And if water gets on it, it seeps through that into the wire and it ends up steaming. So it looks like smoke. Yeah, I've seen that a lot of times actually. It's horrible. Anyway, going back to your story, carry on. Sorry.
So just to bring you kicking and screaming back to the back to the subject. So you, you went to the local comprehensive. That I'm guessing that would have been one of the first comprehensives with
Yeah.
it was an A
It
level.
it turned comprehensive in 60, either 67 or 68. And I went there in 69. So before that, the upper school, as it became known, was the grammar school, and the lower school was the secondary modern.
Sure. So just to explain to anybody that's not of our age from the UK, previous to the comprehensive system, there was grammar schools for those kids that were bright enough to pass a an entry exam. And what was the other? What was the
Secondary modern.
secondary modern? That's it for the kids that were, let's just say, they were good with their hands. And and so following that, they then introduced the comprehensive with the idea of all the kids go to the same school, but there's streaming classes within the school. So you'd
So
have
what,
streams
right,
of
okay, right. Let's do another tangent. What do you think about that, Hugh, as a teacher? Which method do you think is best?
good question.
Comprehensive,
Me too. What
without a
do you think?
shadow of a doubt.
What do you think, Colin?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was fortunate. I don't know. Uh, I was in the group that was not the top one, but one down from the top.
Obviously.
Ha!
So so
Ha!
we was so we were bright enough to know what was what, but not too smart that we was going to get a red flash down the loo.
Yeah. No, I think comprehensive worked because it was near enough what I would call a level playing field.
Yeah,
As Colin said, there were different bands. Um, I was fortunate enough to be in the top band, Um, just as an aside, does anybody remember the TV program Please Sir?
Of course. Yeah, John.
Do you remember the form name?
Four B was it? I can't remember now.
5C.
Oh, I've seen. There you go.
And guess who was in C band and eventually became 5C?
Yeah,
Yay! I waited 5 years for that. Um,
Well, you're
but
gonna
yeah,
have.
it was great because so it was a level playing field. There was no um, upper and lower schoolers and things like that. It was, if your mates used to go and play with after school might well be in band D or E, but it didn't make any difference.
yeah.
We were
That's
all
really
in
interesting.
school together,
Yeah, I
not
agree.
in two separate schools a mile apart.
So after you left, did you go into sixth form or did you leave school?
Yeah, no, I did.
Further education.
Yeah, I did A levels. I did economics, British Constitution, and design technology. Um, I got two of them, which is all I needed to get an unconditional entry into college to do the B.Ed. The one I failed was British Constitution, but in my defence, my lord, I did have a temperature of over 100 when I sat the exam, which was at home as well.
Right.
And I always remember the house was so hot that the invigilator fell asleep in the chair.
It's always good.
So I could have written anything. But yeah. So no, I got my A levels. I went to college. Uh, Brilliant time there. Um, and in fact, my teachers in design tech had also been to the same college and trained there.
Right.
And it was a place called Shoreditch College, which is now part of Brunel University, or
Yeah, I know.
was.
I know.
Um, and it was the design tech teaching
Yeah,
um,
absolutely. I know it. Mm.
college in the country.
Superb.
Uh,
Superb. So let's fast forward a little bit. So your first job was the teaching.
uh, no, when I was in school, I used to work in a shop um, on Saturdays and Friday nights and Saturdays, and then during school holidays, and ended up going to work for them full time.
Brilliant. Okay. And then what after that? What changed everything? What did you do after that?
I I moved to Bristol with work, had a great 3 years there. Didn't stay very long in the job I'd moved with because I found other things, and I ended up working in the casino as a croupier.
Really?
No
See,
way.
you
How
just
cool is that?
you just pulled that out of the bag.
Ah,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
suddenly.
Pulled it out of the bag. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was a croupier.
Yeah, dealing blackjack and roulette.
Yeah.
That was
No
fun.
way. Could you tell us a bit more about that, if that's all right?
Yeah, it's not rigged.
Well,
Definitely,
I don't think many
definitely
people think it
not
is,
rigged.
but
But things can, especially on blackjack, um, if you're winning as a dealer, they just let you stay there. If you're losing, they take you off and they put somebody else in. And I remember one night, normally on blackjack, you used to deal for about 20, maybe 30 minutes because it's a very intense game,
Mm.
especially if you've got all seven boxes going and you've got seven players. You've got to keep the game going and not let people think too much about what are they going to do. So I remember one night something I got you get a tap on the shoulder and the inspector comes over and says, right, last hand. went over, handed over to the next dealer, and he went, right, go and take an hour's break. But there are only 20-minute breaks. He says, now, take an hour. Do you know how long you were dealing for? I went, no. He said, an hour and a half. I went, really?
Wow. So
He
where
said,
was this? Where were you doing this?
Bristol.
Hmm.
So, and then I transferred down to Southampton to another casino within the chain.
It's a bit like doing French ear trumpet, really. This time just whizzes by, doesn't it?
No.
It does. Yeah, it definitely does. So anyway, right. So how did you get out the casino life? You're a high roller. What happened then?
I I was missing home, not homesick, but
In home, you mean Wales, I guess.
yeah. So I moved home and started working in insurance, or now as it's called, financial services or whatever it's called now. And I used to sell life insurance, investments, pensions, mortgages, things like that. Um, got all my qualifications,
So give us a time frame. What kind of year is this? What are we talking? Where are we?
84 to 87.
So I'm 7 years old. Right. Good.
I was just trying to work out. Yeah, I was 21. Jesus.
Oh,
Okay. You've lived such a life before you even got there.
I was
It's
30.
unbelievable, isn't it?
I was nearly 30. Um, so anyway, um, one of my bosses had managed to snag a job with a different company, and as is usual, poached a few of us to go in and set a team up there. And that's where I met the lady that I'm still with 40 odd years later.
How did you get into wood turning? So I know you're a design technology teacher, but it's very obvious when you watch your videos that wood turning is your passion with all the machines and everything like that. How did you get there? From a croupier or whatever? How did you
Right.
get to that?
When so me and Jane got together, um, we ran pubs for 10 years. The last one was in Brentwood, in Essex, Colin,
Yeah, which pub?
the Nag's Head.
You're joking.
No, with a long car park down the side of it, opposite a Vauxhall dealership. It used to be when I was there,
Yeah, makes sense. Yep.
on the outskirts of Brentwood.
He doesn't remember the pub, he remembers the car park for some reason.
Yeah, there were no lights. Uh,
Yes.
so we had two children, twins, twin boys, and they were coming up to 4, and it became increasingly evident that trying to run a pub
Mm.
and bring up a family is not good.
Hmm.
So we left that industry. I once again we moved home again, and I went back into financial services and ended up working for a commercial mortgage company as their account manager for the whole of Wales and half of the southwest of England. And during that time, I had both my knees replaced through arthritis.
Wow. Oh my God.
Um, so for 6 months, I was basically sat at home, feet up, and I thought, I've got a choice. I can either watch Jeremy Kyle or do something with my hands.
Or I can gouge my eyes out with a spoon.
So I bought a matchstick model kit off eBay of a barge, which I still have, and made a couple of guitars, and I kept the barge, but I gave the guitars
Wait,
to,
wait, hold on. You just brushed over that like it was nothing. You made what?
Matchstick models.
No, after that. A couple of guitars. What, actual guitars or
Models, guitar
models of
models
guitars?
from matchsticks.
Of course.
Crikey. That's so complicated. I don't even know where to start.
And I thought, well, I'm buying all these kits, so this might sound a bit, but I decided to make my own.
Brilliant.
So I made a scale model of a baby grand piano
Well, yeah, we've all done that. Yeah.
Yeah.
with
Actually,
with the eight
I just knocked one up this morning as it happens. Yeah.
with the 88 keys, strings inside, the lift-in lid, the keyboard lid, music stand, stool, and that's now in my sister's house, who
So you did the model with the lifting lid. I missed that one. No, I didn't. I
Yeah.
didn't.
See, I thought you was good, Andy.
Oh, sorry, mate. Sorry.
Everyone told me you was good at this stuff.
It's just a solid lid, mate. I just couldn't do
yeah.
the lifting lid, could
I
I?
was full of disappointments, isn't it?
So then I made my brother a violin
Oh, so yeah, yeah.
because he played the violin.
Oh, yeah.
Um, I then made my sister a harp because she also played the harp.
Well, yeah. I was.
Um, and loads of other things. So I thought I want to take it to the next level. I'll send you some pictures, Andy, of
Oh,
them.
you can do that. Yeah, definitely, definitely. I'd love to see
And
that.
um, I went to my mate Kev's place, and one of the pubs we ran was in St Albans, and the brewery shut us for 3 months for a major refurbishment, where
Okay.
everything that was on the inside was put on the outside in extensions, which made it a 170 seater. It was a big place.
Oh,
And my mate Kev, who, if you've seen the videos, I've
yeah,
been in
yeah,
his
yeah.
workshop many times. He was in charge of the crew for the removal of all the stuff.
Is that
So
how
when I
you
was
met him? Is that how you
yeah,
met? Ah, okay. That makes more sense now. Yeah.
I became his best man. And
Wow.
the
Yeah.
first line of my best man speech was, the first time I met Kevin was a moving experience. Literally. It fell on deaf ears for most people,
Yeah, I
but
can imagine. Yeah.
Kev and myself had a little snigger about it. Anyway, um, he was selling his bandsaw. So my idea was that instead of, as with the models I've just mentioned, I literally glued each match next to the next one and so on and so on and so on. I thought if I make a A4 sheet of match plywood, basically, I could cut them up with a bandsaw and make life a lot easier.
Right.
I
It's
went to
almost
his
like
house.
the precursor to what is it they do now with the melted plastic that goes around and builds things up. I can't remember what it's
A
called.
3D printer.
3D printed.
3D printer, isn't it? It's almost like the precursor. It's like
Yeah.
the Stone Age version of 3D printing, isn't
Or the
it?
wooden age version.
There
Yeah.
you go. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So I did buy the bandsaw off him and he went back home with me in the car. But while I was there, he had a full workshop in his garden and he made me a pen, which I still have. And I said, I want to have a go at that.
how hard can it be?
Yeah. So he said,
Mate, if you've
come on
seen
then.
his videos,
I know,
even
right?
like two
I
of them,
know.
it's
Yeah,
very, very hard.
yeah. I mean,
So
I think if it was me doing it, I'd have people calling me Stumpy McNubbs. You know that.
Yeah. Sorry, go on, you.
James Hamilton, yes, that's his real name.
Yeah,
Sorry, you go on, go on.
So yeah, that weekend I made my first pen,
brilliant,
which I still have.
brilliant.
Um, and then I came home and I said to Jane, I want to buy a lathe. So she went, okay.
Well, what more can you ask, eh?
So I did, and I ended up with a little workshop very quickly outgrew that. And now I have a bigger workshop and very quickly outgrew that. But I'm still in that one. Um, and yeah, so I started making pens. And then I went on to bowls and clocks and pepper grinders and all sorts of things. But my love is pens.
So
Yeah,
with the
cool.
pen shoe, is there like a bucket list that you've got that you say to yourself, one day I'm going to make this pen out of this, and that's going to be the ultimate pen, and it's never going to get any better than that until the next one. But is there like a bucket list of pens that you want to make?
Yeah, I like, oh, sorry, no, I was wrong. I love segmenting pens. So you get a bit of wood, cut it up into little pieces, and then glue it all back up
Mm.
Yeah.
into another big bit of wood.
Right, yeah, I know you mean,
Um, and there's one I've made which is probably my favorite pen. Um, and I stupidly sold it.
Say
But
what?
hey, yeah. And if you have a look at my website, it's the main picture. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous pen. And when my niece got married nearly 3 years or so ago, she said, "Can you make me a pen for the guests to sign the book with?"
yeah. Oh, brilliant. Yeah, I like that.
Oh,
I went,
that's superb. Yeah.
okay, yeah. And in my mind, I'm thinking, just don't choose that one.
Mm.
And guess which one she chose?
No, no.
That one. So I have enough blanks left to make one more, and one day I will. And I will keep that one because the blank takes about a week to make.
Right.
So we're
Um,
getting into the realm of what your channel does. So
mm.
just give us an example. So describe what your channel does for anyone who hasn't seen it. What can we expect when we look at your channel?
I would call myself a wood turner with a love of pen making.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So that predominantly my channel is about pen making.
Hmm.
I try to mix things up and not just turn simple things, simple pens. So even if it is a simple pen, I will try and use a special piece of wood to make that pen memorable.
I know where this is going.
Yeah, well, you mentioned it last week,
Yeah,
and that's it.
look at that.
That is a piece of oak from the Shawshank Redemption tree.
Ah,
See?
that's
If you
oh,
notice,
Right, so
it's quite dark. The grain in it is ridiculous.
you
Um,
can't just flash that around you and not
no,
explain
you
that
can't
to
do that. You
anybody,
can't do
right?
that.
So,
it's mine. It's mine.
which came first? Was it the idea? Was it the supply of the wood, or did you go looking for the wood, or yeah, what was the process leading up to this
That's a
part?
brilliant question, actually. That's superb.
There's the thing about wood turning community, and especially YouTube, it's global,
Right.
and
Yeah.
you do make friends.
Yeah.
So I've got quite a few people I would call friends. Same as you. Never met you in person, but yeah,
Yeah,
you know.
I get what you're saying. I get where you're coming from.
So there's one guy in America called Daniel. Um, we've spoken many times on the phone, video calls, and all the rest of it. And he sent me a picture one day and he said, "What do you reckon on this?" Ooh, that's lovely. He said, "Yeah, it's oak." I went, "Really?" He said, "Yeah, it's Shawshank oak."
Oof.
I went, "What?" He said, "Where'd you get it from?" He said, "Oh, what, do you want his name?" I went, "Yes, please."
Yeah,
So
do I?
his name is Dan as well. just give you a little bit of history about that bit of wood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
please do.
As we all know, it's in the Shawshank Redemption film. But in 2011, the tree was hit by lightning in a storm and was damaged. 5 years later, it got hit again to the extent that the tree had to be taken down because it was dangerous.
Hmm.
Because people were still flocking there to visit it because obviously the film.
Mm.
And Dan's fear was that bits could fall off and literally kill somebody.
Of course, yeah.
It was a huge tree.
Mm.
So they took it down. I mean, you know the uproar in this country when the sycamore and the gap came down.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you imagine what it was like in America for the Shawshank tree?
Sure.
So 5 years later, the oak's been seasoned and Dan can now start selling it. So I messaged him and said, I got your name from Daniel.
Who actually owned it, Hugh?
Um, Dan and his sister.
Okay, so that was
It was
on.
on his parents' farmland, but
Got
they
it.
owned the
Okay.
tree.
Yeah, yeah, got it.
So I said, do you have any for sale? He went, yeah. And he told me the price, swallowed. It's very expensive, one of the most expensive woods I've bought
I
Mm.
would
for the
expect,
size.
imagine so, yeah.
But I bought enough to make 10 pens out of it. Um, Shipping and taxes were horrendous,
Obviously.
Of course.
but that was number one. And there's a video of me turning that one, which
Oh
you've
yeah.
seen.
I got it on
Um,
loop in the living room.
Send you to sleep with, is it?
Yeah. No, no, no. Literally, so just to give some context to that, how important it is to me that that particular video that I went to my mum's house. I do most evenings, and you see her house a lot in these videos I do. And she said, "Oh, you're doing French trumpet tonight?" I said, "Yeah, great. We've got Hugh on from Wouldn't It Be Nice?" And she went, "Oh, that's it. That's interesting." And I said, "Yeah, it's great." And she goes, "Oh, is that the guy with the pen?" I said, "You mean the Shawshank pen?" And she went, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, that's him." Oh, that's brilliant. That brilliant. That is one of the best videos, I think, for me and my family and my group. Everybody watches that because it's so. To give you some perspective, I'm a big movie fan, as Colin is. And at my house here, I built a little cinema on the first floor. And as you go up to it, there's loads of posters with the original posters from the year in which the film was made. So I've paid a lot to get the original poster from the cinema. For example, yeah, I don't know, Top Gun, for example. I've actually got a poster from 1982, the original one, and it goes up the stairs. I can't put it in the daylight because of the UV, but then it goes up to the cinema. And I love movie stuff. And when I saw you do that pen, I was like, I really love that. It just, there's something about it that connects you to the movie.
Yeah.
Something like that is brilliant. I love it. Like my posters, it's brilliant. I
Sorry,
really loved it.
one
One of
sec.
my favorite movies.
One sec while I get something. Ah, I'm back.
Is that the wood?
So that's the blank or blanks.
Yeah.
Crikey.
Look at that.
And they all come with certificate of authentication.
Brilliant. Funny enough, I was going to ask you about the provenance there on
Yeah.
that. Yeah. How does it compare to woods that you've worked on before? Or other blanks of oak, and how does it compare?
One of the easiest bits of oak I've ever turned.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. It's so oak is quite normally a open grained wood,
Yeah.
but this is what's called from a crutch piece. So where you get two branches that do that,
Yeah.
the bit in the middle there,
Yeah.
that's the crutch piece. So the grain goes all over the place, hence
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
sort
Of
of
course.
pattern.
Does,
Yeah.
And it was
does
just a joy to turn.
does that make it harder, like more difficult to turn if
It
it's red
can do
or
because you've got grain going in all sorts of different directions. So
oh, of
you could
course.
be turning with the grain, against the grain, whatever. But that was just a pleasure. Absolute dream to turn. And it is so, so smooth.
Stop it now. That's me. I'm too excited. Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on quickly. So, moving on. How did you come to follow channels like mine and Colin in France?
Yeah,
How
that's
did that
that's
come
a really
about?
good question, actually. I hadn't thought
Um,
of
I very, very easy to answer. Graham,
that. Oh, crap. How
Ah,
about that? Yeah. Yeah, of
Graham
course.
Butler.
Yeah, of
Because
course.
Graham used to do wood turning, had a YouTube channel, still does, obviously, with our
yeah.
friend House Renovation. And we got to know each other. We've met up a few times. Um, and he mentioned your channel first, Colin.
Yeah.
And I went over and looked. I thought, well, yeah, I'll have a look at that. And I enjoyed it. And then you mentioned Andy.
Yeah.
So I went and had a look at that. I thought, yeah, I enjoy that. A lot of the stuff you do, Andy, goes over the top of my
Tell me
head,
about it.
but
You
I
and me
still
both,
enjoy
Hugh. You and me
watching it.
both.
You know, it's still entertaining.
Yeah.
It's difficult, and I said this to Colin many times. Um, what you do and what Colin does, like for example, the tiki bench, it's artistic. So if you look at the video that Colin did for the tiki bench, he carved a face in it and all that sort of stuff. I could never do that until the day I passed away. It's not something I could actually do. I do not possess the ability to do anything artistic. And I marvel at those people that can, like yourself, Hugh, who can do stuff like that. I just can't do it. I can do anything technical, anything with a straight line, or anything complicated electrically, no problem. I have
I
no
guarantee
art.
you, Andy, if you turn up here, you will turn your own pen.
Uh,
There's a
And the same
challenge.
for you, Colin.
Okay, mate. Yeah.
I'll
Then you
give it
got
a
your own
go,
lathe,
but
haven't you?
it's not
So
so
say
much
again?
that. It's just the artistic ability. I don't have any. So I do look at people that can do it, and I think, why can't I do that? In the same way that people look at me and when I do my technical stuff, it's the opposite. Like some people can draw a photorealistic picture. If I draw an animal, it's like a bubble with legs, and that's that's the
An
end of it.
Irish stick
I
man.
literally zero artistic ability.
So,
That's one of the reasons when I look at Hugh's channel and I look at how the bowls are formed, I look at how the pens are formed. I just look at it, I think, I just wish I could do that. I mean, I
I'm
know the
actually going
physics
to spend
behind it.
I'm actually going to spend the Bastille Day weekend with Graham in the Vendée. So we're going to go to an evening out on Bastille Day, and then I think the day after we're going to the Ile de Ré, which is like a touristy sort of island, isn't it?
Yeah. Because I
So
was chatting to Graham the other day. Um, I was helping him with something, and he said you were going up
yeah,
today.
yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Can't wait. Um, so the question that keeps popping into my head for you is, do you ever find yourself looking around the house looking for a pen?
All the time. And that one.
There you go.
No, no, come
That's so
on.
funny.
That's
It's a
terrible.
bit like when you see car mechanics. They've always got a shit car, haven't
You know, you're not wrong.
they?
No. one of our sons is a technician for Mercedes,
Right.
and he buys lovely cars.
Yeah.
He gets rid of total heaps.
Right.
It's
Superb.
it's yeah.
Just right. So if people are watching this are still in the UK, you do fairs and fetes and
Yes.
around where you are. Can you
Yes.
tell us where they are if you want to, or
I've done quite a few all over South Wales and into Mid Wales. Some I've done for a couple of years and thought it's not for me. So now I'm in two places. Um, One is the Norwegian Church in Cardiff Bay. Um, and it's a huge tourist attraction.
yeah.
And it was a church that goes back to the 1800s that was there to support Norwegian sailors, because obviously Cardiff was a huge international port for all sorts of things. And a lot of the Norwegian sailors sort of basically jumped ship and settled. Um,
That's weird.
yeah,
Never heard of that.
so not replaced, they moved the church from where it was and re put it back down in Cardiff Bay. And it's huge. It's not a huge place, but it's a huge attraction.
Mm.
I actually go in there on Monday for 10 weeks.
And you have a stall or a setup
Yeah,
there,
I
and
have a
people can
setup
come
there.
and buy your stuff.
Yeah, there's 15 crafters there, all different. Um, and we each what's called host certain days so that we look after everything for everybody else. And then when we're not there, they look after
So if
for us.
someone sees your YouTube channel and likes what you've got on there, they can buy the stuff that you make or similar if they go to that location.
Yeah. But the bigger one for me is, and I just absolutely love this place. I've tried 4 years to get in there.
Is that the one you sent me the pictures of?
Yeah, St. Fagans. And I eventually got invited. So, and I've been there now. This is my third year there. And I just love the place.
Tell us and tell the viewers where that is and how to get your
Right.
stuff.
St. Fagans is the Natural Historical Museum for Wales, and it's on the outskirts of Cardiff in a little village called St. Fagans. And what they do is they will find historical buildings around Wales that are of interest. They'll buy them and then they'll dismantle them brick by brick or stone by stone. They number each piece, then they take it to the
Wow.
museum and then they rebuild it.
No way.
So it's exactly the same as it was, just maybe 100 miles away from where it was originally.
That sounds crazy.
It's an outdoor museum. So if the weather's bad, yeah, it's bad.
Weather's bad in Wales. There's a thing.
Yeah, it does occasionally rain, Colin, occasionally. But yeah, it's an amazing place. And I love it there.
So, can I ask Hugh, is two questions. So, the first one would be, what would be the price range of one of your pens? Obviously, there's different woods and so on, but what would be the price range from two?
Right. For my hand turn pens, they start at £35.
Which is really good, isn't it?
Yeah, I was going to say that's pretty cheap. Yeah, that's really
And
good.
then those I
Yeah.
sell for 95.
Even that's cheap as chips, if you
Wait,
ask
hold
me.
on. Hold on.
And the
Oh,
only
wait, wait,
reason
wait.
for the difference is what that bit there
Hmm.
costs me.
Yeah.
If you,
because
you
by the foot, that is the most expensive wood I've ever bought.
Hmm.
So
So one of those blanks only makes one pen,
no,
or is it two pens?
that'll make two.
Yeah, I was going to say because I can see
So
how that
you've
would
got
fit. Yeah,
one
yeah,
there and
yeah,
one there. So that's the only way it can be profitable.
yeah.
yeah,
So,
but go, go ahead.
so is there any other way that someone can buy a pen without having to go to
Yeah,
one of the
yeah. I have a website.
okay,
Um,
just out.
it's wouldn't it be nice.co.uk, I think. I
Okay,
don't,
we'll get it from you anyway, and we'll put it in the link of the
all I will say
yeah.
is that if anybody does look at it, nothing on there's available.
Okay,
And the reason that is because all my stuff is individual.
of course.
That one and that one, even though it's from the same tree,
Yeah,
will look totally different
yeah, of course, yeah, because they're
because of
individual
the
pieces.
grain in it.
Yeah,
So, you know, I can make similar, but I can't duplicate.
yeah. So, do you do commissions then?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So if somebody has an idea um, of what they want, yeah. If
So,
I can't do it, I'll
just
say no.
so just as an example, if I was to go and get a piece of wood and send it to you and say, "Can you make a pen out of this?" Is that something doable?
For you, the answer would be no.
Well, just because it's me.
Yeah, just because it's Colin.
Oh, fair play.
Yes, I could.
Yeah,
There are, if somebody says that, I say, right, well, the wood needs to be this sort of size
yeah. Those
to be able to
specs. Yeah,
use it. Yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah.
apart from that, yes.
Brilliant. So,
I've actually got a piece of olive wood in the lounge, which one of the other makers at St. Fagans said to me, if I give you some olive wood, can you make me pens out of it, please?
brilliant.
I went, yeah. So I've got to
So,
make him 5 pens.
just to start to wrap it up a bit, Joe, because we're running out of time. Um, where do you see yourself going with this? You're going to stay with this, or are you going to evolve it, or how do you see the future?
Uh, I'm happy where I am at the moment. Um, there are certain things health-wise at the moment that limit me.
Hmm.
So I'm not looking to go running a marathon, should we say, or doing a 100-meter sprint. I'm quite happy where I am at the moment.
Yeah.
I don't do my wood turning to earn a living
No.
No. Okay.
because you never will.
Yeah. Of course.
Look,
That's
some
true.
people do, obviously, but you know, making a pen, you'd have to sell a hell of a lot to
Yeah.
make a decent living. I do it for fun, relaxation, entertainment, and most importantly, the love of doing it.
Do
Because
you know
when I
what
get into my workshop,
I just want to say on that subject, when I watch your videos, the thing that grabbed me the most, I know we've run out of time and we're well over, but when I watch your videos, the thing that grabbed me the most is the raw passion you have for making the subject above making the video. So your preference is how like the amazing object you're making as opposed to the amazing film you're making of making the object. And for me, that keeps me hooked because the YouTube's full of people who do stuff just to make a good video, but you're the opposite, like I am. Like I just make
so
the
my
video
videos are rubbish.
because I just make the video because I want to make the video of that particular subject, not because I want to make a video just to be on YouTube. And that's why I like your videos. And
The reason I started my YouTube channel was to show people what I do and how I do it. And I can always remember my sister telling me, "Why are you doing this? You're telling people how you do it." And I went, "Yes.
that's the
How
point.
do you think I learned?"
Exactly. Yeah.
From watching other people. So, and I've had loads of comments from people saying, and I'm not being big-headed, you're an inspiration. I love what you do. Your pens are brilliant. You explain things so well. And
Yeah.
if I get those comments,
Yeah.
I'm just on cloud nine, because that to me is every box ticked.
Lovely.
Brilliant.
All right, Hugh. So we're going to have to wrap it up now, I'm afraid. We've run out of time. So I want to thank you so much for spending the time with us. And time's whizzed by.
Oh,
And you're a proper craftsman. And I am in awe of your skill.
Well, Colin, the invite's there. If you ever make it over here, you'll make your own pen too.
Okay, mate. Lovely. Andy, anything to add?
no, that's perfect. Yeah.
Lovely. All right.
Well,
So thank
thank
you
you
so
both.
much.
I've enjoyed it.
Oh, you're so welcome. And you'll be welcome back anytime as well. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it. I know that we have. We all have. And if you'd like to give a video a thumbs up, that'd be great. Maybe think about subscribing if you're not subscribed already. Press the notification bell so that you know when there's new content, and share it on your socials. And all it needs to say is goodbye from me.
It's goodbye from them.
It's goodbye from you.
Bye.
There you go.